This break is brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GamebreakerTV. Why is Guild Wars 2 so popular? Seems like an easy question, right? Well, our very own Jason Winter has a different theory on the subject. Jason, so what do you think is so different about Guild Wars 2 that's going to make it succeed, where we've seen a lot of recent MMOs, well, fail?
We go on a lot about the gameplay, about dynamic events, all the different stuff they're doing, and that's all subjective. You could say that's better or worse, or it's good or bad or whatever. But I think a lot of it has to do with the timing. I mean, we've had all these games come out in recent years that were supposed to be WoW killers or compete with WoW or whatever, and that's what a lot of dissatisfied gamers labeled them as. But despite what a lot of people said, I don't know that enough of them were really ready to move on from WoW or whatever WoW-like MMO they were playing. A lot of people think that because I'm tired or something that the majority is, but it's not always that case. And I think that's hard for a lot of people to admit, that even if they were tired of their previous MMO, that everyone else wasn't abandoning it in droves in the same way. You have World of Warcraft as an example. It went from 12 million players to 10 million. So even if you were one that left, that means 5 other people stuck around.
Right.
But I think now the pendulum is starting to shift a little more in that direction of having enough dissatisfied people that there are enough to really make another game be that successful.
So it's almost as if gamers were still, like, and devs were almost still too on the bubble, where they had to kind of develop their game more around World of Warcraft, and it just wasn't the right time to kind of deviate too much from the and break the mold.
Yeah, I think there's definitely been a lot of that. I think that you didn't have that critical mass. We talk about the 20/80 rule, 20% of people making 80% of the noise.
Right.
I think there was that smaller number of dissatisfied people who were the most vocal and that we hear the most about. But when you're running a game company, you more or less have to go after the majority. And if 80% of them are still going to play whatever, then you got to make a game that appeals more to that number.
So you don't think that the hype surrounding Guild Wars 2, because the hype is insane right now for Guild Wars 2, just a bit, right?
Yeah.
You don't think that it's just another bubble that's going to burst?
Not so much. I mean, obviously some people are going to try it and they're mega hyped up for it and they're going to be disappointed, but I think that it's not going to be as many as it has been for other big hype games that have come up recently. Just the fact that the hype has been really maintained pretty well over such a long period of time and through the betas and so on is an example of that. I haven't really heard of any significant number of people who were excited about it and then got into the beta and say, oh, well, that sucked. I mean, granted, that's kind of the case when people try a new game, especially in a beta. It takes them a while to get tired of it. Maybe around level 30, 40, after a few months in or whatever, you might get tired of it. But other than technical aspects, I haven't heard any major complaints about the core gameplay. And you do tend to hear that. Even in betas, you'll hear people go on about how, I can't believe they're doing this, and oh, they better freaking change that by the time the game goes live. But you haven't really heard a whole lot of that regarding Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of those threads, and it's true, when you're in a lot of betas, you do see those threads over and over, those doomsday threads of, X game better fix this before launch or it's going to be doomed, and then you could look back on hindsight and go like, man, they really just should have listened to the community. But yeah, you're not really seeing, there's things here and there that, of course, it's still in beta, but there's no, like, major glaring disappointment from any of the beta testers that I've seen at all.
One of the things I often saw from the hype busters or so on was, especially before the betas were released to a wide number of people, were, oh, well, eventually you're going to play it. How can you say such great things about this game? You haven't even played it yet. And then most everybody plays it, and I haven't heard people give it that kind of excuse anymore. So, yeah.
Now, what do you think about this whole, you're talking about the gameplay and kind of like, this new era of MMO? ArenaNet's not the only company kind of riding this new wave, are they?
Yeah, and that's another point in favor of this. If it was just one company, banking its millions of dollars, just ArenaNet or whatever, you could dismiss it as they're crackpots or eccentric game designers or out on a limb or whatever. But you've got a lot of games that are coming out that are really making this different. Yes, Secret World, WildStar, maybe Elder Scrolls Online, all the different MMOFPSs, RTSs, even Terra to some extent. And we've heard some interesting things about what Copernicus might have had in store too. That's another one. But the way it usually works in business is, before committing tens of millions of dollars to a product, you do your market research, you find out what people are going to want, and a lot of these companies are apparently finding in their research that enough players are dissatisfied with the current MMO scene and want to do something notably different. And I don't know that we would have necessarily had that same kind of research, that same kind of results, and this critical mass of gamers 2 or 3 years ago, but I think we might now.
I can only say that's a great thing for us MMO lovers out there, that we're actually going to start seeing some diversity amongst the genre and some changes and people stirring it up. Well, thanks, Jason. For all your Guild Wars 2 news, keep it locked and dialed in right here all day, every day, and be sure to watch our show Guildcast, which is live every Tuesday at 6 Pacific. We'll see you next time.